I've watched enough of life to notice something most people miss. The ones who stay quiet aren't empty. They're just waiting for someone willing to pay attention. Most folks walk right past them, but every now and then, two quiet souls find each other in a place nobody thought to look. I saw it happen once, at an animal shelter in Virginia, on a cold October morning. The clipboard hit the concrete floor. Janet Holbrook didn't pick it up. Her hands hung at her sides as 23 children pressed against the hallway walls behind her. No one moved. No one spoke. They were all looking at the same place. Kennel 11. A 10-year-old girl knelt on cold concrete at the far end of the isolation wing. Her brown hair hung loose around her shoulders. Her hands moved through the air slow, deliberate, shaping something none of them understood. The German shepherd behind the wire did not bark, did not pace. It sat. Then it lay down. Then it stood. Turned a full circle, and sat again. No voice had commanded it, no whistle, no clicker, just a pair of small hands. Speaking a language this building had never thought to try. 6 hours earlier. The vibration pulled Lily Harper from sleep. A small disc buzzed against her cheek, trapped beneath the pillow. Her alarm. No sound, just pressure against bone. She lay still, watched dust drift through the window light, counted the seconds between each floating particle. No rush. There was never any rush when no one called your name. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled like toast and coffee. Her mother stood at the counter, hands already moving. Field trip today? The animal shelter. Remember? Lily nodded. She remembered. Carolyn Harper watched her daughter eat. Spoon to bowl to mouth. Slow. Mechanical. The same rhythm every morning for 10 years. No excitement. Lily had stopped showing excitement around age 6. Caroline remembered the exact moment, a birthday party. A magician. Every child screaming and clapping while Lily sat in the corner, watching mouths move, understanding nothing. Excitement required hope. Hope required the possibility of being met. Caroline turned back to the sink, scrubbed a pan that was already clean. In her backpack, buried beneath permission slips and broken pencils, Lily kept a laminated card. White background. Blue text. I am deaf. I use sign language. Her speech therapist had given it to her in 2nd grade. 4 years ago. She had never shown it to anyone. The school bus lurched over a pothole. Lily's shoulder hit the window frame. She sat in the front row. Alone. The seat beside her empty. Backpacks piled on it by children who needed somewhere to put their things. Behind her, voices rose and fell. Laughter. The bass thump of someone's headphones turned too loud. She felt the vibrations through the seat. That was all. Tommy Saunders pushed past her in the aisle. His elbow caught her shoulder. His mouth moved, sorry or move or nothing at all, and then he was gone, sliding into a seat 3 rows back. Lily watched Virginia roll past the glass. Farmland. Fences. A red barn with a collapsed roof. Cows standing in mud. A dog ran alongside a tractor in a distant field, its mouth open, ears back, chasing something she couldn't see. A man on the tractor whistled. The dog turned, responded, obeyed. Lily watched until the field disappeared behind a hill. Her hands rested in her lap, still, patient. Ahead, through the windshield, a hand-painted sign appeared at the roadside. Pinewood Animal Shelter. The bus slowed. The bus doors folded open. Gravel crunched under 23 pairs of sneakers. Lily stepped down last. The October air hit her face cold, sharp, carrying something underneath. Hay, wet fur, the faint sourness of kennels that never fully dried. The shelter was smaller than she expected. A single-story building with faded green siding, a hand-painted sign nailed to a fence post. Pinewood Animal Shelter. Every animal deserves a second chance. Lily read the words twice, wondered who decided what counted as a chance. Inside, the main hall smelled like bleach and kibble. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, not that Lily knew this. She only saw the flicker, the way shadows jumped on the concrete floor. A woman stood at the front, mid-50s, gray hair pulled back tight, clipboard pressed against her chest like armor. Janet Holbrook, shelter manager? The name tag on her shirt was crooked. Her mouth moved. Lily watched, caught fragments through lip-reading welcome, rules, don't run, fingers, cages. The rest dissolved into shapes without meaning. No interpreter. No one thought to arrange one. No one turned to face her directly. Caroline pushed through the cluster of parents. Her hands rose, began translating. Janet paused mid-sentence, frowned, continued without acknowledgement. Standard procedure. Lily had seen it 100 times. The brief confusion, the slight irritation, the decision to simply carry on as if nothing unusual had happened. She was unusual. The world had made that clear. An old man caught her eye from across the room. Faded denim jacket, work boots scuffed white at the toes, a limp when he shifted his weight, white stubble on his jaw. 3 days past a razor. He didn't approach, didn't wave, just pointed to his own ear, then shrugged big, exaggerated, almost theatrical. The universal gesture. Mine don't work so great either. Lily didn't smile, but her shoulders dropped half an inch. The old man nodded once, moved on, didn't make a thing of it. Mrs. Patterson led Lily's group down a concrete hallway. Kennels lined both walls, numbers painted in white above each gate. 1, 2, 3. Dogs lunged at the chain link, barking, jumping, tails whipping against metal. Every animal responding to the parade of children, the noise, the movement, the chaos of small bodies pressing close. Lily hung back. She had a system. Approach slowly, kneel down, raise her hand, sign, Kennel 1. A beagle mix. The clipboard read, Buster. Lily crouched, extended her right hand, formed the sign for sit. Buster barked at the group of boys behind her, jumped against the gate, ignored her hands completely. She rose, moved on. Kennel 2, black Labrador, young, hyperactive, spinning circles in the cramped space. Lily signed. The lab's eyes tracked a volunteer carrying food buckets down the hall. Its tail wagged at the bucket, not at her. Kennel 3. Terrier mix. It yapped at something beyond the far wall, a sound, a smell, something only dogs could sense. Lily's hands might as well have been invisible. Kennels 4, 5, 6. Same pattern. Dogs responded to everything except her. She didn't hurry, didn't show frustration. She had 10 years of practice at keeping her face still. Carolyn watched from the back of the group. Her daughter moved from cage to cage, knelt, signed, rose, moved on, knelt, signed, rose, moved on, each time. Nothing. Each time. The same small failure repeated. Caroline's jaw tightened. She looked away, looked back, couldn't stop herself. There was a specific kind of ache in watching this. Not sharp, not sudden, just a low, constant pressure behind the ribs that never fully released. She had felt it at birthday parties, at school assemblies, at the playground when Lily was 5, sitting alone on the swings while other children shouted and chased each other in games she couldn't join. The ache didn't get easier. It just got familiar. Kennel 7. A pit bull mix. Muscular and alert. It watched the crowd. Hackles raised. Lily signed. The dog's eyes slid past her to Tommy Saunders, who was banging his palm against a nearby gate. Kennel 8. Kennel 9. Nothing. Kennel 10. A small terrier, white and brown, barking so loud the children covered their ears. Lily stood 3 feet away. Her hands rose, formed the sign. The terrier's mouth opened and closed, screaming at a world of sounds Lily would never enter. She lowered her hands, let them hang at her sides, stood there for a moment, just breathing. Then she turned away from the main hallway. At the far end of the corridor, a door stood slightly ajar, gray paint peeling at the edges. A sign bolted to the frame. Staff-only isolation wing. Beyond it, the hallway continued. Darker, quieter, and from somewhere deep inside, no sound at all. Tommy Saunders stood at Kennel 7 with 3 of his friends. A golden retriever pressed against the chain link, tail whipping back and forth. Tommy cupped his hands around his mouth. Sit, sit. Boy, sit. The dog dropped to its haunches, tongue lolling, tail still wagging. Tommy turned to his friends, his chest puffed out, shoulders rolling back. See, easy. You just gotta be loud enough. Lily stood 3 feet behind him, close enough to see his mouth form every word, close enough to watch his friends nod along, to see their hands clap together in silent applause. Tommy didn't know she was there, didn't turn around, didn't mean anything by it. But the message landed anyway. You have to be loud. You have to make noise. You have to be heard. Lily's hands hung at her sides, the same hands that had signed at 10 dogs in the past 20 minutes, the same hands that had been ignored, overlooked, invisible. She turned away before Tommy could notice her. The main hallway dead-ended at the isolation wing door, gray paint, peeling edges, staff only. Lily should have turned back. She stood there instead, looking at the crack where the door didn't quite meet the frame, the darkness beyond. Footsteps behind her, heavy, uneven. The old man from the orientation room appeared, same denim jacket, same limp. He walked past her without slowing, reached for the door, and pushed. It swung open. The hinges didn't squeak. He grabbed a brick from somewhere a doorstop. Maybe. Or just debris left in the corner and wedged it under the door's edge. Then he looked at Lily. Didn't speak. Just nodded toward the opening. Shrugged with that same exaggerated motion from before. And walked away. His boots echoed down the hallway, growing fainter, then gone. Caroline found Janet Holbrook at the front desk. The shelter manager was reviewing paperwork, a stack of manila folders, a half-empty coffee mug leaving rings on the wood. "Excuse me." Janet looked up. Polite, professional. The expression of someone who had answered 1,000 questions from 1,000 visitors and would answer 1,000 more. "Yes, my daughter is deaf." Caroline kept her voice steady. "She communicates with sign language. I was wondering, is there any dog here that might respond to hand signals? A service animal, maybe, or something trained differently." Janet's pen stopped moving. "All our animals are trained with vocal commands. That's standard practice." She set the pen down. "Hand signals require specialty work. It's expensive, time-consuming. We don't have the resources for that kind of training." Caroline waited, hoping for something more. Janet tilted her head. Sympathetic, dismissive. "You might try a breeder. Some of them do custom training programs. Costs a bit. But if it's important to you, it's important to her." "Right." Janet picked up her pen again. "Well, good luck with that." Caroline stood there for another moment. The conversation was over. She knew it. Janet knew it. The polite wall had been erected, and there was no door through it. She turned away. This wasn't new. The school that couldn't find an interpreter, the church that never started a deaf ministry, the birthday invitations that stopped coming because it's just easier without her. The world had 1,000 ways to say no. Caroline had learned to stop arguing. Mrs. Patterson found Lily near the isolation wing door. "Lily, honey." She crouched down, putting herself at eye level. "Are you having a good time?" Her hands moved while she spoke. Slow, clumsy. The signs of someone who had watched a YouTube tutorial the night before and practiced in front of a bathroom mirror. Lily watched the effort, the careful forming of each shape, the slight delay between mouth and hands. Mrs. Patterson was trying. That counted for something. But the question itself was the answer. "Are you having a good time?" As if Mrs. Patterson hadn't noticed. As if she hadn't seen Lily fail at every single kennel. As if the quiet girl standing alone near the staff-only door was simply taking a break from all the fun. Lily nodded. The universal lie of children who had learned that honesty only made things harder. Mrs. Patterson smiled, patted Lily's shoulder, moved on to check on the other students. The isolation wing smelled different, less bleach, more dust. The air thicker, older, like a room that didn't get opened often. Lily walked slowly. Her sneakers barely made a sound on the concrete. Kennels lined the walls here too, but most were empty. No dogs lunging at chain link, no barking, no chaos. Just silence. Real silence. The kind Lily knew better than anyone. She read the clipboards as she passed. Kennel 1 I empty. Kennel 2 I empty. Kennel 3 I medical hold. Cat. Recovering from surgery. She kept walking. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead. One bulb was dead. Shadows pooled in the corners. Kennel 8 I. Kennel 9 I. Kennel 10 I. All empty. Then she reached the end of the hall. Kennel 11. A German shepherd sat in the back corner of the cage. Gray and black coat, lighter fur around the muzzle, ears upright, eyes fixed on her. Not pacing, not barking, not pressing against the chain link like every other dog in this building. Just sitting, watching. Lily stopped. The clipboard hung on a nail beside the gate. She stepped closer. Read the handwritten notes. Name unknown, intake. Name dog 11. Breed German Shepherd mix. Age approximately 4 to 5 years. Notes: unresponsive to vocal commands. Does not engage with handlers. Possible hearing impairment, inconclusive. At the bottom, a single line in red ink. Scheduled for transfer to behavioral facility. October 15th. Lily read it twice. Unresponsive. Does not engage. Possible hearing impairment. She looked up from the clipboard. The dog hadn't moved. Still sitting. Still watching. But something was different now. Its eyes weren't tracking movement behind her, weren't darting toward sounds in the distance, weren't following the patterns that every other dog followed. Its eyes were fixed on her hands, Lily's breath caught. Slowly, so slowly, she raised her right hand. Formed the sign for sit. The dog was already sitting. No response needed. She tried again. Signed down. The German Shepherd tilted its head, held her gaze for a long moment, then it lowered itself to the concrete. Lily's hands began to shake. She signed stay, held her palm flat, fingers together, the gesture her mother had taught her before she could walk. The German Shepherd didn't move. Come. Lily beckoned with her right hand. A small wave. Palm up. Fingers curling inward. The dog rose. Walked to the front of the cage, sat directly in front of her. Through the chain link. Their faces were inches apart. Lily could see the gray in its muzzle now, the small scars on its snout, old ones, healed white beneath the fur, a notch missing from the tip of its left ear. This dog had lived, had seen things, had been somewhere before this cage. She signed good dog. The shepherd's tail moved. Just once, a single sweep across the concrete. Lily's throat tightened. She swallowed against it. Somewhere in Georgia, 2 years and 3 months ago, a military transport plane touched down at Fort Benning. The cargo hold opened. Handlers emerged with their dogs. German shepherds. Belgian Malinois. Animals trained to detect explosives, to track movement across desert terrain, to respond to whispers and hand signals with equal precision. One dog walked down the ramp, without a handler beside him. His name was Sergeant, 4 years old, 18 months of deployment, commendations for service, a perfect record. His handler, Private First Class Daniel Reed, had been killed by a roadside bomb 11 days earlier. Daniel had been 24 years old, from Ohio. Partial hearing loss in his left ear from a training accident 2 years before deployment. He'd trained Sergeant differently because of its vocal commands and hand signals both. Redundancy. Reliability. The Army way. When Daniel died, no one noted the hand signal training in the transfer paperwork. No one asked. No one thought it mattered. Sergeant was processed out. Honorable discharge. Cleared for civilian adoption. The paperwork got lost somewhere between Georgia and North Carolina. Then between North Carolina and Virginia. 3 shelters in 2 years. Each one running the same evaluation. Vocal commands. Clickers. Whistles. Each evaluation reaching the same conclusion. Unresponsive. Does not engage. Not adoptable. No one tried anything different. No one thought to look. Lily didn't know any of this. She only knew what was in front of her, a dog that watched her hands. A dog that responded when she signed. A dog that sat perfectly still, waiting for her next gesture with a focus she had never seen in any animal before. She signed shake. The shepherd lifted its right paw, extended it through a gap in the chain link. Lily reached out, wrapped her fingers around the rough pad, felt the warmth of it, the slight tremble in the leg. The dog held still. Didn't pull away, didn't flinch. She released the paw. Signed good. The tail swept the concrete again. Twice, this time. Walter Brennan stood at the far end of the isolation wing. He'd followed the girl. Not closely, just enough to see where she went. Just enough to watch. 15 years of volunteering at this shelter. He'd seen hundreds of dogs come through. Some got adopted. Some got transferred. Some didn't make it. He'd watched that German Shepherd for 3 months. Watched the evaluators give up. Watched the trainers shake their heads. Watched the dog get quieter and quieter, retreating deeper into the cage each week. Unresponsive, they said. Broken. They meant Walter had seen broken. He knew what it looked like. This wasn't it. This was waiting. And now, watching the deaf girl sign through the chain link, watching the dog respond to every gesture, Walter understood what the dog had been waiting for. He pulled out his phone. Not to take a picture, just to send a text. His daughter, Susan, 3 states away. Too busy to visit anymore. You're not going to believe what I'm seeing right now. He didn't expect a reply. Hadn't gotten one in weeks, but he sent it anyway. Lily lost track of time. She signed spin. The dog stood, turned a complete circle. Sat again. She signed down. The dog lowered itself to the floor. She signed up. The dog rose. Every command, every gesture. Perfect response. Her hands moved faster now, testing, pushing, seeing what else the dog knew. Left. The dog shifted left. Right. The dog shifted right. Watch me. The dog's eyes locked onto her face. Lily's chest felt strange, tight and loose at the same time. A pressure building behind her ribs that she didn't have a name for. She had never, not once in 10 years, experienced anything like this. Every dog in the main hallway had ignored her. Every animal she'd ever encountered had responded to sound, to voice, to the world she couldn't enter. But this one, this dog saw her hands, understood them, answered them. This dog lived in the same silence she did. Footsteps echoed in the hallway behind her. Sharp, quick, the click of hard soles on concrete. Lily felt the vibration through the floor. Turned her head. Janet Holbrook stood at the entrance to the isolation wing. Clipboard clutched against her chest. Mouth already moving. Lily didn't respond. Couldn't hear the words. Only saw the lips forming shapes, the brow furrowing, the posture stiffening. Janet's voice rose. Behind Janet, another figure appeared. Caroline, face pale, hands already rising. Caroline's voice carried down the hallway. She's deaf. She can't hear you. Janet stopped mid-sentence. Her expression shifted, irritation folding into something else. Something practiced. Professional patience. She looked at Lily. At the dog. At the clipboard hanging beside the cage. Her eyes lingered on the red ink at the bottom. Transfer 10/15. 4 days away. Caroline pushed past Janet into the isolation wing. She's not touching the cage. Caroline's voice was steady. Controlled. The voice of a woman who had defended her daughter 1,000 times and would do it 1,000 more. She's not breaking any rules. Janet's clipboard rose slightly. A shield. This area houses animals that haven't been cleared for public interaction. That dog, she gestured toward Kennel 11, has behavioral issues. He could be dangerous. He's sitting 6 inches from my daughter's face. Caroline stopped beside Lily, put a hand on her shoulder. Does he look dangerous to you? Janet's mouth opened, closed. Behind the chain link, the German shepherd sat motionless, ears forward, eyes fixed on Lily's hands. Not a growl, not a bark, not a single sign of aggression. That's not the point. Janet's voice tightened. Protocol exists for a reason. This dog has been here 3 months. He doesn't respond to our staff. He doesn't engage with our training. He's scheduled for transfer because we cannot place him. Transfer where? Janet hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. A behavioral facility, upstate. They specialize in difficult cases. The words hung in the air. Both women understood what behavioral facility often meant, what difficult cases sometimes led to. Caroline's hand tightened on Lily's shoulder. And you're telling me this dog, the one sitting calmly in front of my daughter right now, is too dangerous for public interaction. I'm telling you that policy? Show her. The voice came from behind them. Walter Brennan stood at the entrance to the isolation wing, a manila folder tucked under his arm. His limp more pronounced than before, as if he'd been walking too long on that bad knee. Janet turned. Walter, this doesn't concern you. Been here 15 years? Walter moved closer, slow, unhurried. Reckon most things around here concern me. He stopped beside Caroline, nodded toward Lily. Show her what the dog can do. Lily hadn't turned around. She felt the vibrations of voices behind her, felt her mother's hand on her shoulder, felt the tension in the air, the kind that pressed against her skin, even when she couldn't hear the words causing it. But she didn't turn. The dog was watching her, waiting. She raised her hand, signed sit. The dog sat. It was already sitting, but its posture sharpened. Spine straighter, ears higher. She signed down. The dog lowered to the floor. Stay. The dog held. Come. It rose. Walked to the chain link. Sat directly in front of her again. Spin. The dog stood. Turned a full circle. Sat. Behind Lily, the voices had stopped. She didn't need to hear them to know. She felt the silence, the weight of it pressing against her back. She signed shake. The shepherd extended its paw through the gap in the chain link. Lily took it, held it, let go. Janet Holbrook's clipboard hung at her side. She stared at the dog, at the girl, at the space between them where something invisible was passing back and forth. That dog. Her voice was quiet now. That dog hasn't responded to anyone. Not once. We've tried everything. Walter opened the manila folder. Not everything. He pulled out a stack of papers, yellowed at the edges, official stamps, military letterhead. Found these in the back files. Should have been with his intake paperwork, but somebody lost them in the transfer. Happens more than you'd think. He handed the top sheet to Janet. She read it. Her face changed. His name is Sergeant, military working dog. Trained at Fort Benning. Walter's voice was flat, factual. Handler was a kid named Daniel Reed, 24 years old, partial hearing loss from a training accident. Trained the dog different because of it. Janet flipped to the next page. Scanning. Vocal commands and hand signals both. Redundancy system. The Army way. Walter scratched his jaw. When Reed got killed overseas, nobody bothered to note the hand signal training in the transfer papers. Dog went through 3 shelters in 2 years. Every one of them ran the same evaluation. Voice commands only. He paused. Every one of them came to the same conclusion. Unresponsive. Not adoptable. Janet looked up from the papers. We didn't know. No. Walter's eyes moved to Lily. to the dog. You didn't ask. The silence stretched. Janet stared at the military documents, her thumb pressed against the corner, wrinkling the edge. 15 years she'd run this shelter. Hundreds of animals processed. Thousands of evaluations. Policies built on consistency, on efficiency, on doing things the way they'd always been done. And here was proof that the way they'd always been done had failed. She looked at the dog again, at the girl, at the connection neither of them should have been able to make. Her jaw worked. Something shifted behind her eyes, not quite guilt, but something close to it. The uncomfortable realization of a mistake she couldn't take back. I need to make some calls. Her voice was quieter than before. This doesn't change his status automatically, but I need to make some calls. Word spread through the shelter like water finding cracks. Mrs. Patterson brought the class to the isolation wing. 23 children crowded the hallway, pressing against the walls, craning their necks to see the deaf girl, the dog, something happening that none of them understood. Tommy Saunders pushed to the front. "How's she doing that?" His voice bounced off the concrete walls. "She's not even saying anything." Another boy. "Is it like a magic trick?" Mrs. Patterson raised her hands for quiet. "Lily is using sign language. She communicates with her hands instead of her voice." Murmurs rippled through the group. Some children nodded. Others stared. Most had sat in class with Lily for 3 years. They hadn't known. They'd never asked. Lily felt the vibration of bodies behind her, the press of attention. She turned her head slightly just enough to see the crowd without meeting anyone's eyes. Her hands hesitated. The dog noticed. Its ears flattened. A low whine escaped its throat, not distress. Something else. Encouragement. Patience. Lily took a breath. Turned back to the cage. She signed sit. The dog sat. She signed down. The dog lay down. She signed spin. The dog stood. Turned a full circle. Sat again. Gasps from the children. Even Mrs. Patterson's mouth fell open. Caroline stood at the back of the crowd, both hands pressed against her cheeks. Her shoulders shook. She didn't wipe her eyes. 10 years. 10 years of watching her daughter reach out and grasp nothing. 10 years of fighting for accommodations, for interpreters, for a world that kept insisting Lily learn to adapt rather than meeting her where she stood. And here, in a concrete hallway that smelled like dust and bleach, a dog was doing what no one else had done. Responding, understanding, answering. Caroline's knees went weak. She steadied herself against the wall. Walter appeared beside her. Didn't speak, just handed her a tissue from his jacket pocket. She took it, pressed it against her face. Janet returned with her phone still in her hand. "I've spoken with the board chair." Her voice was different now, measured, careful. "He's willing to review the situation, but I need to be clear nothing is guaranteed." Caroline straightened. "What does that mean?" "It means the transfer paperwork is already processed. Changing course at this stage requires signatures, approvals, and a formal review. That takes time." "How much time?" "Minimum 2 weeks, possibly longer." Caroline's stomach dropped. "The transfer is in 4 days." "I'm aware." Janet's grip tightened on her clipboard. "I've requested a temporary hold. Whether it gets approved is out of my hands." Walter folded his arms. His knee popped as he shifted his weight. "So what do we do in the meantime?" Janet looked at Lily. At the dog. At the military papers still clutched in her other hand. We wait. A pause. And we hope the board sees what I just saw. The field trip ended at noon. Mrs. Patterson gathered the children in the main hall. Head count, permission slips. The organized chaos of moving 23 10-year-olds toward a waiting bus. Lily stood near the back, alone. Her hands hung at her sides. She'd been pulled away from Kennel 11 10 minutes ago, her mother's hand on her shoulder, guiding her toward the exit. We have to go. The bus is leaving. Lily hadn't argued. She'd learned years ago that arguing only made things harder. But she'd looked back. Once, twice, 3 times. The dog had watched her go. Hadn't barked, hadn't whined, just sat there, eyes tracking her movement until she disappeared around the corner. Now, standing in the main hall, Lily felt the absence like a gap where something should be. Tommy Saunders approached her. He'd been watching from across the room, seen the whole thing in the isolation wing, seen the dog respond to her hands, seen the adults crowd around, heard them talking about military training and hand signals and things he didn't fully understand. He wanted to say something. He wasn't sure what. Lily didn't turn, didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the floor. Tommy stepped closer, waved a hand in front of her face. She turned, saw his mouth moving, saw the shape of her name on his lips. Her face stayed blank. Waiting. Tommy's brain went empty. He'd had something to say, something about the dog, about how cool it was, about how he'd never seen anything like that before. But now, with her eyes on him, with the silence stretching between them, the words evaporated. He stood there, nothing coming out. His friends were watching. Jake and Marcus and Devon, standing 5 feet away, waiting to see what Tommy would do. The silence grew. Tommy felt heat climb up his neck, into his cheeks, his ears. He laughed. It came out wrong. Too loud. Too sharp. The kind of laugh that happens when nothing is funny and your body doesn't know what else to do. His friends laughed, too. Jake snorted. Marcus elbowed Devon. Lily saw it all. She didn't hear the sound, but she saw the heads tilt back, saw the mouths open, saw Tommy's shoulders shake, saw his friends double over, saw the way their eyes crinkled at the corners. She knew what laughter after words meant. She'd known since she was 4 years old. Lily walked toward the exit, not fast, not slow, just moving, 1 foot in front of the other. She passed Mrs. Patterson, who was counting heads, and didn't notice. She passed her mother, who was talking to Janet near the front desk, faces close, voices low. She pushed through a side door and kept walking. The hallway stretched ahead of her. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of bleach, and something older underneath. She didn't know where she was going. Didn't care. She just needed to be somewhere that wasn't there. A storage room appeared on her left, door ajar, shadows beyond. She pushed through, let the door swing shut behind her. The room smelled like dust and kibble, bags of dog food stacked against the walls, pallets of supplies, mops and buckets crammed into a corner. A single bare bulb hung from the ceiling, but she didn't turn it on. Lily found a gap between 2 pallets, a triangle of shadow where the light from the hallway crack didn't reach. She sat down, pulled her knees to her chest, wrapped her arms around them. The concrete was cold through her jeans. She didn't move. Her hands lay flat against her thighs. The same hands that had connected with the dog. The same hands that had done something no one in that building had ever seen. Now they were just hands. Useless. She didn't cry. What was the point? Crying was for people who believed someone might hear them. Crying was for people who thought the sound of their grief might bring help. Lily had stopped believing that a long time ago. The laughter replayed in her head. Not the sound, she'd never heard laughter in her life. But the image. The way Tommy's mouth had stretched open. The way his head had tilted back. The way his friends had doubled over, shoulders shaking, eyes squinting shut. She'd seen that pattern 100 times, 1,000 times, at birthday parties, at recess. In the cafeteria when she'd tried to sit at a table, and the conversation had stopped. And then the looks had started. And then the laughter. Always the laughter. She never heard it. But she always knew. It was the one sound she understood perfectly. Her face burned. Heat spread across her cheeks, her forehead, the back of her neck, the kind of heat that came from inside. The kind that wouldn't go away no matter how cold the concrete felt against her legs. She pressed her forehead against her knees, squeezed her eyes shut. Stupid. The word appeared in her mind. Clear. Precise. Stupid to think today would be different. Stupid to think the dog meant anything. Stupid to hope. She'd done it again. Let herself believe. Let herself reach out. Let herself imagine. Just for a moment. That maybe this time, and then the laughter. Always the laughter. The door creaked. Lily didn't look up. Didn't move. Light spilled across the floor. Footsteps. The shuffle of small feet. Then a voice. Tommy Saunders. She couldn't hear the words, but she felt the vibration of someone speaking. Close. Too close. She lifted her head. Tommy stood in the doorway. Jake and Marcus behind him, faces visible over his shoulders. Devon hung back, half hidden in the hallway. Tommy's mouth was moving. Lily watched his lips. Caught fragments. Sorry. Didn't mean. Just wanted to. He stepped closer. His sneakers scuffed the concrete. His hands hung awkward at his sides. Fingers twitching. Cool what you did. With the dog. Wanted to say. He stopped. Looked at his friends. Looked back at Lily. She sat in the shadows between the pallets, knees pulled up, arms wrapped tight, face blank. She looked like she was hiding. Because she was... Tommy's expression shifted. The awkwardness melted into something else. Confusion, irritation, the frustration of a 10-year-old who didn't know what to do when the world didn't respond the way he expected. He said something else. His friends laughed again. She saw it in their faces. The way their shoulders bounced. The way Jake covered his mouth. Then Tommy shrugged. Turned around. Walked out. His friends followed. The door swung shut. The light disappeared. Lily sat alone in the dark. She'd been found hiding in a storage room like a scared animal, found curled up between bags of dog food, hugging her knees, face pressed into the dark. They'd seen her, and they'd laughed, and then they'd left, because that's what people did. They found her, they laughed, they left. The pattern never changed. Her throat tightened. Not tears, something worse. A pressure that built behind her ribs and climbed upward, filling her chest, her neck, her skull. A weight that had no name and no release. She pressed her palms flat against the concrete. Felt the cold seep into her skin. Felt the grit and dust beneath her fingers. This is where you belong. The thought arrived uninvited, in the dark, alone, where no one has to deal with you. She didn't argue with it. What was there to argue? The world continued without her. Vibrations through the floor, footsteps, movement, the distant rumble of an engine, the bus, probably. Starting up, getting ready to leave. No one came. Her mother was still talking to Janet, still fighting for something that didn't matter anymore, still believing that paperwork and phone calls could change anything. Mrs. Patterson was counting heads. Would eventually notice one was missing. Would send someone to look. Maybe. But right now, in this moment, Lily was exactly where she'd always been. Invisible. Unnecessary. A problem that everyone worked around, but no one knew how to solve. She thought about the dog. Still sitting in Kennel 11. Still watching the door she'd disappeared through. Still waiting for her to come back. But she wasn't going to come back. The transfer was in 4 days. The board might approve a hold. They might not. And even if they did, even if some miracle happened and the dog stayed what then, she was still deaf, still silent, still the girl who sat alone at lunch and watched mouths move without understanding. Still the girl whose own classmates didn't know basic facts about her after 3 years. One dog understanding her signs didn't change that. One connection didn't fix a lifetime of disconnection. The door opened again. Lily flinched, pressed herself deeper into the shadow. But it wasn't Tommy this time. Caroline stood in the doorway, face pale, eyes searching. She couldn't hear the word, but she saw her mother's mouth form her name. Saw the panic in the way Caroline's hands gripped the doorframe. Their eyes met. Caroline's face crumpled. She crossed the room in 3 steps, dropped to her knees on the cold concrete, pulled Lily into her arms. Lily didn't hug back. Her arms stayed wrapped around her own knees. Her body stayed rigid, but she let herself be held. Because there was nothing else left. Caroline pulled back, looked at her daughter's face, saw the blankness, the emptiness, the way Lily's eyes stared past her, fixed on nothing. She'd seen this look before, after the birthday party when Lily was 6, after the school assembly in 3rd grade, after 100 small humiliations that had accumulated like stones in a jar until there was no room left for anything else. Caroline signed, hands shaking. What happened? Lily didn't answer. Baby, what happened? Tell me. Nothing. Caroline's chest tightened. She reached out, cupped Lily's face in her hands, forced her daughter to meet her eyes. Talk to me. Please. Lily's hands rose. Slow. Mechanical. I want to go home. That was all. Caroline stared at her daughter, at the hollow expression, at the hands that had been so animated an hour ago, signing to a dog that understood her, and were now limp and empty. Something had broken, and Caroline didn't know how to fix it. Walter found them 5 minutes later. He stood in the doorway, took in the scene. Mother and daughter on the concrete floor. The smell of dust and kibble. The darkness. He didn't speak, didn't ask questions, just leaned against the doorframe and waited. Carolyn looked up at him. Walter nodded. His eyes moved to Lily, to her face, to her hands. Kids like her, he said quietly. They learn to go quiet when the world gets too loud. She can't hear the world. Doesn't mean it's not loud. Caroline shook her head. I don't know what to do. Walter pushed himself off the doorframe. His knee popped. He ignored it. "Bus is leaving. Got about 5 minutes before they come looking." Caroline closed her eyes, drew a breath. When she opened them, Lily was staring at the wall. Not at her mother. Not at Walter. Just at the concrete blocks. Gray and cold and endless. "Lily," Caroline signed the words as she spoke them. "We have to go." No response. "The bus is leaving. We have to go now." Lily stood, brushed dust from her jeans, walked toward the door without looking at either of them. Walter stepped aside to let her pass. He caught Caroline's eye as she followed. "She going to be okay?" Caroline didn't answer. She didn't know. The bus was gone. Lily watched it pull out of the gravel lot through the shelter's front window. 22 children inside. 22 backpacks. 22 voices she couldn't hear, talking about things she would never be part of. She stood alone in the main hall. Caroline had gone to speak with Janet again, more phone calls, more paperwork, more fighting for something that probably wouldn't matter. Lily didn't care anymore. The concrete floor was cold beneath her sneakers. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. She couldn't hear it, but she could feel the vibration in her teeth when she stood directly under them. She moved away from the window, found a plastic chair near the wall, sat down. Her hands lay in her lap. Still. Empty. Walter appeared 10 minutes later. He didn't approach directly, just walked past her, slowly, toward a vending machine in the corner. His limp was worse now the cold concrete had stiffened his knee. He fed coins into the slot, pressed a button. A candy bar dropped. He picked it up, walked back toward Lily, stopped 3 feet away, held out the candy bar. Lily looked at it, looked at him. He shrugged, the same exaggerated gesture from earlier. "Take it or don't. Up to you." She took it. Walter lowered himself into the chair beside her, slowly, painfully. His knee popped loud enough that she felt it through the plastic seat. They sat in silence. After a while, Walter reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a photograph. Old. Creased. The edges soft from years of handling. He held it out where Lily could see. A woman. Young in the picture, maybe 30. Dark hair pinned beneath a small white cap. Nurse's uniform. She was smiling at the camera, her hands raised mid-gesture, signing something. Lily stared at the photograph. Walter pointed to the woman, then to his heart. He mouthed the words slowly, carefully, lips forming each syllable with exaggerated precision. "My wife," pause, "Martha," another pause, 42 years. Lily's eyes moved from the photograph to Walter's face, back to the photograph. The woman was signing, in the picture, frozen forever mid-word. Walter tucked the photograph back into his pocket, reached into another pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper. He must have written it while she was hiding. Block letters, careful and clear. The handwriting of someone who had learned long ago that some people needed to see words instead of hear them. He unfolded it, held it where she could read. "That dog waited 2 years for someone to try something different. You tried in 2 minutes. That's not luck. That's you." Lily read the note. Read it again. Her fingers touched the paper, traced the edges. She looked at Walter. His face was weathered, deep lines around his eyes, stubble going white along his jaw, the kind of face that had seen things and kept going anyway. He didn't smile, didn't offer comfort, just sat there, present. Lily's hands rose, slow, uncertain. She signed, "Your wife was deaf." Walter caught enough of it. The sign for wife, the gesture toward his ears. He nodded. Lily signed again. Did she feel alone? Walter's brow furrowed. He caught some of it, the questioning shape, the uncertainty. But his sign language was limited, fragments he'd learned 43 years ago and never forgotten. He held up a finger. Wait. Reached into his pocket again. Pulled out a pen. Flipped the paper over to the blank side. Wrote, "She used to say, 'The world is loud for everyone. Some of us just hear it different.'" Lily read the words. Something shifted in her chest. Not hope, not yet, but something adjacent to it. A crack in the wall she'd built that morning. She signed, "What can I do?" Walter watched her hands, caught the question mark at the end, the pleading in her eyes. He fingerspelled, one letter at a time, the way Martha had taught him before they were married, Goback. Lily stood. Her legs were stiff from sitting. She stretched them, felt the blood return. Walter stayed in his chair. His knee wasn't going to let him up quickly. He waved her on. Go. She walked toward the front desk. Her sneakers squeaked on the tile. Her hands hung at her sides. But they weren't empty anymore. Janet Holbrook sat at the front desk, phone pressed to her ear, paperwork spread across the surface, the manila folder with the military records open beside her keyboard. She was talking, explaining, her voice tight, professional. Lily stopped at the edge of the desk, stood there. Janet glanced up, held up a finger. Wait. Lily didn't wait. She reached into her backpack, pulled out the laminated card. White background, blue text. "I am deaf. I use sign language." The card she'd carried for 4 years. The card she'd never shown anyone. She set it on the desk, directly in front of Janet. Janet's eyes moved to the card, to Lily, back to the card. "I'll call you back," she said into the phone. Hung up. Lily pulled out her phone, opened the Notes app, typed rapidly, thumbs flying across the screen. She turned the phone around, held it up. "That dog is not broken. I am not broken. We just need people to try a different way. Please don't send him away." Janet read the screen. Her face didn't change. Professional mask intact. "Sweetheart, I understand what you're feeling, but there are processes." Caroline appeared behind Lily. She'd been watching from across the room, had seen her daughter emerge from wherever she'd been hiding, had watched her walk across the floor with a purpose she'd never seen before. She read the phone screen over Janet's shoulder. "Janet." Her voice was low, steady. The voice of a woman who had spent 10 years fighting and was not about to stop now. "In 10 years, my daughter has never asked for anything. Not from the school, not from the church, not from me." She put her hand on Lily's shoulder. "She learned early that asking doesn't get you anywhere when the world isn't built to hear you." Janet's mouth opened. "She's asking now." The front door swung open. Walter limped in. Behind him, a man in a white coat, Dr. Marcus Webb, the shelter veterinarian. Webb carried a folder, thicker than the one Walter had found earlier. Official seals, military letterhead, pages flagged with colored tabs."Janet." Webb crossed the room, set the folder on the desk. I pulled the complete service record. There's more than what Walter showed you. Janet looked at the folder. At Webb. At Walter. What is this? Webb opened to a flagged page. Ran his finger down the text. This is the handler's training log, Daniel Reed. He documented everything. Webb tapped a paragraph. Sergeant demonstrates exceptional responsiveness to visual commands. Recommend cross-training for hearing-impaired handler placement. Asset shows strong potential for service dog certification upon completion of active deployment. Janet took the page. Read it. This dog was supposed to be a service animal. Her voice was quiet. Specifically for someone with hearing loss. Specifically for someone exactly like that girl. Webb nodded toward Lily. The paperwork got scrambled in the transfer. 3 shelters, 2 years. Nobody bothered to check the original file. They just ran standard evals and called him broken. Janet set the paper down, pressed her palm flat against it. The silence stretched. Caroline watched Janet's face. The shelter manager stared at the military documentation, at the commendation letters, at the handler's notes written in careful handwriting by a 24-year-old soldier who was now dead. Evidence that her entire system had failed one animal for 2 years and almost failed him permanently. I've already requested a temporary hold on the transfer. Janet's voice was different now, quieter. The board chair is reviewing tonight. And if he says no... Janet looked at Lily. At the phone screen, still displaying her message. At the laminated card sitting on the desk, the card this girl had carried for 4 years without ever showing a soul. Then I'll request again. Janet straightened, pulled her clipboard back. And again, until someone listens. Walter shifted his weight. His knee popped. Never thought I'd hear you go against the board. Janet didn't look at him. The board's job is to protect this shelter. My job is to protect these animals. She paused. And sometimes those aren't the same thing. Caroline exhaled. Her grip on Lily's shoulder loosened. Lily stood at the desk. Phone still in her hand. The message still glowing on the screen. She didn't know what the adults were saying. Couldn't hear the conversation. But she could read the room. The tension draining from her mother's shoulders. The way Janet's posture had shifted. The way Walter nodded slowly in the corner. Something had changed. She looked toward the hallway. Toward the isolation wing. Toward Kennel 11. 4 days until the transfer van arrived. 4 days to find out if the board would listen. 4 days to see if one dog, one connection could survive a system built to overlook them both. 2 weeks later, the shelter parking lot was quieter than before. No yellow bus. No 23 children spilling across the gravel. Just a single car. Engine ticking as it cooled. And 2 figures walking toward the entrance. The October morning had turned cold. Frost clung to the grass at the edges of the lot. The hand-painted sign still hung by the fence. Pinewood Animal Shelter. Every animal deserves a second chance. Caroline walked beside her daughter. Their breath fogged in the air. Lily's hands were buried in her jacket pockets. She hadn't spoken, hadn't signed the entire drive over. Her face was careful, controlled. The face of someone who had learned not to hope too loudly. But her eyes kept moving toward the door. The main hall looked different in the morning light. Quieter. The chaos of the field trip was gone. No children pressing against kennels. No voices bouncing off concrete walls, just the hum of the fluorescent lights and the distant sound of dogs barking somewhere deeper in the building. Janet Holbrook stood near the front desk. She wasn't holding her clipboard. Her hands hung at her sides, fingers interlaced. When she saw Lily and Caroline approach, something shifted in her face. Not quite a smile, but close. The board approved the exception. Janet's voice was steady, professional. But there was something underneath it now. The transfer has been canceled. The dog stays. Caroline's hand found Lily's shoulder, squeezed. Additionally, Janet continued, Dr. Webb reached out to a veterans organization that assists with service dog certification. They've agreed to cover the evaluation costs and provide training support. Lily stood very still. She watched Janet's lips move. Caught fragments, approved, canceled, stays. The words didn't feel real. They floated in front of her like pieces of a puzzle she wasn't sure how to assemble. She'd spent 2 weeks not hoping, 2 weeks telling herself it wouldn't work out, 2 weeks preparing for disappointment. A voice behind her, vibration through the floor. She turned. Tommy Saunders stood 3 feet away. His friends weren't with him this time. He held something in his hands, a card, homemade, construction paper and glue. He held it out toward her. Lily took the card, opened it. Inside, 23 names were written in different handwriting. Every student in her class. Some had drawn dogs next to their signatures. Stick figures with 4 legs and wagging tails. At the bottom, in Tommy's blocky print, "We hope you get to keep him." Tommy's mouth moved. Lily caught enough. "Sorry about before. Didn't know how to. Hope this is okay." His face was red. His hands jammed into his pockets. The posture of a 10-year-old who had been thinking about something for 2 weeks and still didn't know if he'd done it right. Lily nodded. Once. That was enough. Walter appeared from the hallway. Same faded denim jacket. Same limp. Same weathered face that had seen decades of things come and go in this building. He stopped when he saw Lily. Tipped an imaginary hat. The kind of gesture men used to make. Back when that meant something. Lily almost smiled. "This way." Janet led them toward the isolation wing. The same hallway Lily had walked 2 weeks ago. The same gray walls. The same flickering fluorescent light. Someone had finally replaced the dead bulb. Caroline walked beside her daughter. Walter followed behind, his knee popping with each step. They reached Kennel 11. Lily's heart stopped. The cage was empty. No German shepherd sitting in the back corner. No gray and black coat. No ears standing alert. Just bare concrete and a clean water bowl. Her throat tightened. Her hands clenched at her sides. No. 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 She spun around. Looked at Janet. At her mother. At Walter. Her face asked the question her hands couldn't form. The panic rising in her chest like water filling a room. "Where is he? What happened, you said?" A door opened at the end of the hallway. Dr. Webb emerged from the examination room, and beside him, on a leather leash, walked the German shepherd. Gray and black coat brushed clean, ears standing tall, the notch in the left ear still visible, the small scars on his snout catching the fluorescent light. The dog saw Lily. His ears rotated forward. His body went still, not lunging, not barking, not pulling against the leash, just watching, waiting. The same way he'd waited in Kennel 11 the first time she'd found him, the same way he'd waited for 2 years before that, for someone to try something different. Dr. Webb looked at Lily. at Caroline, at the space between the girl and the dog. He crouched down, unclipped the leash. The leather fell away. The dog didn't move, still waiting, still watching her hands. Lily took a step forward, then another. The dog's eyes tracked her movement. His tail gave a single sweep across the floor, just one. Restrained. Patient? She stopped 3 feet away. The same distance as before. Through chain link, they had been inches apart. Now there was nothing between them. Lily raised her hands. Slowly. The way she had 2 weeks ago in front of a cage that was supposed to be off limits. She signed, "Hello." The dog's ears flicked. She signed, "Friend." His tail swept again. She signed, "Stay." He sat. Perfect. Immediate. Eyes fixed on her face. Lily dropped to her knees. The concrete was cold through her jeans. She didn't care. The dog rose, walked the remaining distance, stopped directly in front of her, close enough that she could see the gray threads in his muzzle. The old scars. The calm, steady eyes that had seen war and loss, and 2 years of being called broken. He pressed his muzzle against her cheek. Not a lick, not a jump, just pressure, warm, solid, present, the way you greet someone you've been waiting for, the way you say, "I know you," without making a sound. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck, buried her face in his fur, held on. Caroline pressed her hand against her mouth. Her shoulders shook. The tears came. She didn't stop them. 10 years of fighting. 10 years of watching her daughter reach out and grasp nothing. And now, in a concrete hallway that smelled like bleach and kibble, the world had finally reached back. Walter stood beside Janet, his hands in his jacket pockets, his bad knee throbbing from the walk. He watched the girl and the dog, the silence between them that wasn't empty at all. "The loud ones get heard," he said quietly. "The quiet ones get remembered." Lily knelt on the concrete floor. The dog sat beside her, pressed against her side, his eyes fixed on her face. She didn't move for a long time. Just stayed there, feeling his warmth through her jacket, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing, feeling, for the first time in 10 years, like she wasn't alone. Her hands rose one final time. She signed a single word. Home. The dog watched, understood something, not the sign itself, but the meaning underneath it. The promise. He pressed closer and stayed.